Yeah. And Akhila, in your answer, you also touched upon, some women you interview, they are not willing to take the risk because they
Yeah,
have small kids at home or whatever.
yeah,
But tell me about yourself. How are you managing with two kids? And I know it's very difficult. I have a
yeah,
21-month-old at home, and I'm really passionate about my work. So is my wife. Both of us want to do well in our careers. So we don't want to compromise on that. We are,
yeah,
giving it our 100% or more than that. And then we do the same thing at home as well.
yeah.
Then it becomes, very, very difficult.
Right, right.
So, but you have two kids, and your job is even more accountable than ours. We are working for a company, and then we have a team, and there is some accountability. We are leaders, right? But you are the CTO of the company, right? And you are the co-founder. So I think it's probably more accountable job than what we
Yeah.
have. And two kids, right? So how do you manage? Tell me the secret.
Yeah, I feel like my answer depends on the week. Like some weeks I feel like we're cruising through, like we're doing amazing. Like just this last week we were like, there is no way we can make this through, right? So it's definitely on a weekly basis. But anyways, jokes apart, I think um how are we doing this? I think the first thing is having a partner who sees your job as important as their job, right? So Pradeep's job is as important as mine, and mine is as important as his. Because then nobody feels like we're having to like sacrifice, our job for the other person's job, or our time with kids versus their time with kids. Which I know in a lot of families, people are still trying to find that balance. And particularly when you have two working people, I think I sort of got that by default. So I feel that that definitely helps. Like, Pradeep is as passionate about my job and my growth in my career that as I am about his, right? So I think that really helps because then it's not like oh, I'm doing all the housework and I'm also doing this and I'm also doing that. It's completely like 50-50 in that sense. And when I say 50-50, I'm saying like whatever each one of us is good at, we're just doing that in the house, right? So that we can keep the house going. Other than that, I am a firm believer of it takes a village to raise your kids. I know like in the US, it's a very sort of individualistic culture, and people, don't like to take help from like a lot of different people to raise their kids. I have the opposite belief. I believe like you should take help from as many people as possible, and I think it's good for the kid because you're exposing them to the world to start with. I know people are concerned because they think they'll pick bad habits from other people or something like that. They'll anyways meet people like that later on in life. Again, you need to protect them from harm. But having said that, if they meet other people, then I think it's good. So we have an amazing nanny, and she's been with us since our second kid was born, and we've sort of kept held on to her as tightly as possible. So yeah, we have that. My parents were here when both the kids were born, and my mom and dad and my in-laws did a fair share of work during that time. And I think just also like I implicitly or explicitly, I told them that this is only so much I can do, like because I've work to do, and they've sort of stepped in and helped. We drop off our kids to our neighbor's place. We do play dates with other people, and just to get some amount of sanity over the weekend. So yeah, I mean, I try to use as much around me as possible. And sometimes it's not, but sometimes, whenever it is, I've definitely asked for help. Um, Other than that, I think one thing I would say, something which has maintained my sanity is through, for the last, I don't remember how long, maybe 15, 16 years, I've been practicing yoga and meditation every day. I actually learned art of living in college, and then I sort of stopped for a little bit and then started it again. And it's the fundamental core to like my sanity in my life. That's one thing that I don't miss. When I was pregnant, I didn't. When I had my kids, I did not. And I think that definitely helps me a lot in terms of just staying sane throughout the day. Most days, right? There are days where you can't, but I think most days it does. Even like during my because with my second one, I had my second one right before COVID. And I pretty much, in my job, I'm driving to customer site. So I'm driving hundreds of miles a day, some days, right? So physically it was very, very strenuous. And there were days where I won't deny where I was like, why am I doing this? This makes no sense. I should not have to do this. Which, yeah, we can come back to that later. But and then after my second one happened, COVID happened immediately. And my plan was to take a couple of months off for maternity. But I had to pretty much go back to work right away because we had like our revenue went to zero, right? And so we had to like come up with a contingency plan on how we're going to keep the company running at that point of time. So yeah, I was pretty much like back at work within 3 weeks or something. And I think my parents stepped in at that time, and my parents like took care of the baby. So um, and yeah, so I guess my point was even during that time, the yoga really helped. Just sort of trying to stay sane through all of it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's a magic bullet. I feel like having a supportive partner and then getting as much help as possible. Like, and then I think having your priorities. I think that's the third thing. Like, my background is in a blur because my house is a mess, right? So you you just have to pick what you make. And for me, I think I've picked yoga, I've picked my work, I've picked spending time with my kids. And that's sort of the three big things that I prioritized for the last 3 years. And then if everything else sort of falls apart, and even like we weren't so like even our social setup, I told people like I don't have the time and energy to call you, but if you come to my house, and you take care of yourself, then you are welcome. And my friends have done that. Most of my friends have visited. They come, they cook in my house, they stay, we sit down, we chit chat, and that's how we maintain our social life, right? So I have, yeah, if anybody comes, I have everything labeled in my kitchen when I say you're welcome to cook, and they all do. And that's so we haven't taken away our social life, but that's how we've managed it. Yeah.
That's good to know. I have learned cooking in US, so I can, whenever I'm visiting Seattle, I can.
Yeah, no, I'll cook for you, Abhishek. Don't worry.